The transport shuddered as it fell through the atmosphere of the planet Korid. Inside, the lights were a steady, dull red. 4 people sat in silence, each lost in their own final thoughts before a mission dot captain. Lee Jun checked the data on his wrist screen for the 10th time. The screen showed a map of Gwanak Station. Big sections of it were flashing red, meaning they were lost. The cause was not an army they could see. It was something worse. A tear in the world itself. A door to a place that should not exist. And from that door, things were coming out. The reports called them the Katherax. The soldiers on the ground had a simpler name, demons. Jun was a calm man. He had to be. His job was to lead the team called Maywall. They were not normal soldiers. They did not fight big battles. They were sent to fix problems that no one else could fix. Problems that were often impossible. Today, the problem was a door that needed to be closed. He looked at his team. Sergeant Park Soo-min sat across from him. Her eyes were closed. Her hands rested on her knees, palms up. She was not sleeping. She was preparing. In her mind, she was already moving. She saw the angles of attack, the steps she would take, the way her body would twist and turn. Soo-min was small and quiet, but she was the most dangerous person Jun had ever known in a fight up close. She carried long knives that could cut through almost anything. Her mind was like one of those knives, sharp, focused, and very still. Next to Soo-min was Corporal Kim Tae-shik. He was a big man with broad shoulders. He was checking his weapon, a huge rotary cannon that most people needed 2 hands to carry. Tae-shik held it with one hand while he used a small tool on it with the other. He was humming. It was an old song, a folk tune his grandmother used to sing. He hummed it before every mission. The song was a piece of home. It kept the big, scary universe outside. When he fought, he was not angry. He was like a man doing a hard but familiar job. He would look at a crowd of enemies and simply see a thing that needed to be cleared away. The last member was Specialist Choi Hana. Her eyes were open, but she was not looking at anything in the room. She was listening. In her ear, a small device played sounds. They were not music. They were the sounds of the Katherax. Screeches and clicks and deep, rumbling growls that made your bones feel cold. Hana's job was to understand. She listened to the sounds over and over. She looked for patterns. She looked for a weakness, a pause, a note of fear. Anything. Her face showed nothing. It was like she was listening to the rain. The ship shook again, harder this time. A voice came over the speaker. It was Lieutenant Kang Dae, their contact on the command ship high above the planet. Maywaltine, we are losing Gwanak, the voice said. It was tight with stress. The breach is getting bigger. The things. They are breaking our lines without touching our soldiers. Our men are freezing up. Then they just fall apart. We cannot hold. Jun pressed a button to speak. What is our mission goal, Lieutenant? The anchor, Kang Dae said. The big alien machine making the door. You must get to it. You must break it. If you do not, the door will open all the way. And then the whole planet, and maybe more, will be gone. Understood, Jun said. His voice was flat. A mission was a mission. Go to a place. Break a thing. Come home. The fact that the thing was a door to hell was just a detail. A light on the wall turned from red to yellow. They were getting close. The area around the anchor is hot, Kang Dae continued. Full of hostiles. Our scans cannot see them all. They are fuzzy. They mess with our machines. You will be on your own very fast. We are always on our own, Soo-min said. Her eyes still closed. Kim Tae-shik stopped humming and snapped a final part onto his cannon. It made a satisfying click. Good. Less noise from other people. The light turned green. A deep clunk echoed through the floor as the transport locked onto its landing spot. June stood up. Last check. They all stood. They wore dark, smooth armor. It did not shine. It seemed to drink the dim red light. They checked their weapons. They checked the seals on their helmets. Remember, June said, the reports say these things attack the mind. They use fear. Your fear is a weapon they can use against you. Do not give it to them. Choi Hana spoke for the first time. Her voice was clear and soft. The fear is not just in your head. It is a real signal. Like a sound you cannot hear. It makes your body weak. To fight it, you must not feel the fear. Or you must feel something stronger. And what is stronger? Su-min asked, her knives now in her hands. Hana looked at her. Purpose. A mind that is only thinking of one thing. A single goal. It leaves no room for their signal. June nodded. Then that is what we do. We think of the mission. We think of the anchor. Nothing else. Our minds are for the task only. The back of the transport opened with a hiss. Cold, thin air rushed in. It smelled like smoke and something else. Something sour and old. The world outside was a nightmare. The sky was the wrong color, a bruised purple. The ground near the landing zone was cracked and black. In the distance, they could see Gwanak Station. Parts of it were on fire. Other parts were covered in a strange, dark mist that moved against the wind. And in the center of it all, rising above the buildings, was the anchor. It was a tall, twisted piece of metal and light. It glowed with a sick green color. Around its base, the air wobbled and bled, like a tear in a painting. Shapes moved in that tear. Big shapes, dark shapes. This was the door. Move out, June said. They ran from the transport into the cover of some broken machinery. The sound of the transport faded as it flew away quickly. They were alone. Su-min went first. She moved from shadow to shadow, her steps making no sound. She was their eyes. June followed, his rifle ready. Tae-shik walked heavily, but his eyes were always moving, watching for threats big enough for his big gun. Hana stayed in the middle, a small device in her hand scanning the area. They had 1 kilometer to go. It might as well have been 1,000. They had not gone 100 meters when they saw the first demon. It was caught in the light of a burning vehicle. It was not like any animal. It looked like a black dog, if a dog was made of sharp angles and dripping tar. It had too many legs. It had no eyes, just a hole where a face should be. It turned its head toward them. It did not see with light. It saw with the fear it sensed. But from Maywall, it sensed nothing. The team had activated their special protocol. Chemicals moved in their blood. Small devices on their armor made a soft sound that calmed their brains. They had trained for this for years. Their hearts beat slow and steady. Their minds were clear streams, thinking only of the next step, the next cover, the path to the anchor. The creature tilted its head. It was confused. Here was food, but the food was not afraid. It did not smell right. It took a step toward them. Park Su-min did not wait. She did not feel fear, so she felt no need to pause. She moved. One moment she was behind a broken wall. The next she was beside the creature. Her knife flashed. It was not a wild swing. It was a precise cut across a place where the creature's form looked weakest. The thing made a sound, a high, painful screech. It did not sound angry. It sounded surprised. Then it fell apart into black smoke and vanished. Su-min was already moving back to cover. She did not look at the space where the demon had been. It was done. Kim Tae-shik smiled behind his helmet. Good start. But the screech had been heard. From the swirling mist near the anchor, more shapes began to turn. The quiet part of the mission was over. The long, hard walk to the door had begun. They were 4 people walking into a place that had broken an army. They did not feel like heroes. They felt like workers with a job to do, and they would do it no matter what stood in their way. The team moved deeper into the wreckage of Guanac Station. The air grew colder and thicker, like swimming through oil. The sounds of distant fighting had stopped. An eerie quiet had taken its place, broken only by the crackle of fires and a new sound, a low, droning hum that seemed to come from inside their own skulls. This was the psychic field. It pressed against their minds like a heavy blanket. It whispered to them. It showed them flashes of memory, of fear. For a normal person, it would have been too much. It would have pulled their deepest terrors to the surface and paralyzed them. But the 4 members of Maywall were not normal. Their training and their neural dampeners worked together. When the field whispered, their minds did not listen. They acknowledged the thought and let it pass by like a leaf on a stream. Their focus remained on the mission. Li Jun led them through a shattered passage between 2 storage buildings. His eyes never stopped moving. He was not just looking for demons. He was looking for the best path. The path with cover. The path that would not box them in. Every choice was a calculation. He saw a fallen beam ahead. It was good cover. He held up a closed fist. The team stopped. He pointed 2 fingers at his own eyes, then toward the left side of the beam. Su Min nodded. She slipped forward, her body low. She peered around the broken metal. She saw a wide-open space ahead, a landing yard. And in the yard, she saw what the demons did to those who could not shut out the fear. 3 human soldiers from the garrison were still there. They were on their knees. They were not tied up, but they could not move. Their faces were frozen in pure horror, mouths open in silent screams. Their weapons lay forgotten next to them. Towering over them were 2 K-Therax. These were bigger than the dog-like creature from before. They stood on 2 legs, with long, thin arms that ended in sharp points. Their heads were smooth and featureless. The demons were not attacking. They were just standing there. And as the team watched, one of the kneeling soldiers began to shake. Then his skin turned gray. Then he crumbled, falling apart into dust, as if he had been dead for 100 years. The demon above him seemed to breathe in. A faint, dark glow pulsed around it for a second. Choi Hana, watching from behind June, understood immediately. Her mind, cool and analytical, processed the scene. She spoke softly into the team's combs. They are feeders. The fear is not just a weapon. It is their food. They paralyze the prey with terror, and then they consume the life energy. The panic is part of the meal. Kim Tae-shik watched, his usual hum silent. He felt a twist in his gut. It was not fear. It was a hot, hard anger. But anger was an emotion, and emotions were fuel for these things. He pushed the feeling down. He crushed it with a simple, heavy thought. That is a problem. My job is to solve problems. He shifted his grip on his cannon, his finger resting beside the trigger. June's mind worked fast. The 2 demons were between them, and the most direct route to the anchor. They could go around, but it would take more time. Time they might not have. The anchor's green glow was getting brighter, pulsating like an infected heart. He made a decision. He pointed at Tae-shik, then at the demon on the left. He pointed at himself, then at the demon on the right. He held up 3 fingers. 2. 1 dot they moved. Tae-shik stepped out from cover, his cannon already spinning up. The whine of its motor cut through the droning hum. The demon on the left turned its blank face toward the sound. It sensed a new source of food, but what it felt from Taishik was not delicious, paralyzing fear. It felt a focused, roaring intent. It felt the sheer physical purpose of a man with a giant gun who wanted to clear his path. It hesitated. That moment was all Taishik needed. He fired. The cannon did not bang. It roared, a sustained thunder of pure force. The tungsten slugs tore into the demon. They did not just wound it. They broke its form apart, scattering its substance into nothingness. At the same time, June fired his rifle. His shot was a single, precise crack. It hit the second demon in the center of its smooth head. The creature staggered back. It was not a killing shot, but it was not meant to be. It was a distraction. From the shadow of the fallen beam, Park Soo-min shot forward. She moved like a ghost. The second demon, confused by the attack that did not carry the taste of fear, swung a bladed arm at June. It did not see Soo-min coming from the side. She did not jump or scream. She simply ran up, planted a foot on a piece of rubble, and pushed off. Her body spun in the air. One of her long knives flashed out. She aimed not for the body, but for the joint of the creature's swinging arm. There was a sound like tearing metal. The arm fell, dissolving before it hit the ground. The demon reeled, a shrill noise of pain and confusion bursting from it. Soo-min landed, turned, and drove her other knife into a spot on its back that seemed less solid than the rest. The creature shuddered and collapsed into smoke. The two remaining soldiers on the ground were still frozen. The demons were gone, but the psychic poison was still in their minds. They were trapped in their own terror. Hana moved past the fighters, going to the soldiers. She knelt by one. His eyes were wide, staring at nothing. She slapped his face hard. He did not react. "Their minds are locked," she said. "The feedback loop is too strong. We cannot break it here." June looked at them, then at the anchor. His mission was the anchor. Saving these men was not the mission. Leaving them here was a risk. They could be used as food for more demons, making the enemy stronger. He made another hard calculation. "Taishik," June said, his voice quiet. "Make sure they cannot be used." Taishik understood. He looked at the helpless soldiers. The hot anger tried to rise again. He thought of his grandmother's song. He thought of the job. He nodded, his face a stone. He raised his cannon and fired two short, brutal bursts. The frozen figures disappeared, freed from their horror in the only way left. The team did not pause to mourn. They moved on, crossing the landing yard quickly. The loud fight would have drawn attention. They could feel the air shifting, the pressure of the psychic field intensifying. More were coming. They were getting closer to the source. And the demons were learning that this small group of humans was not like the others. They were not food. They were something new, something strange, and something that hurt. The green light from the anchor was all they could see now. It filled the world, a poisonous glow that made their dark armor look sickly. The humming was a physical thing, a vibration they felt in their teeth and bones. They had reached the inner wall of Gwanek Station. Just on the other side was the open plaza where the anchor stood. Lee Jun signaled for a halt. They crouched behind the final piece of cover, a collapsed walkway. He peeked over the top. The plaza was a nightmare painting. The anchor, a twisted spire of black metal, rose from the center. Waves of green energy pulsed from its base, and with each pulse, the air in front of it rippled and tore. Small, skittering demons flowed out of the tier like ants from a nest. They were not the biggest threat. The real problem was the Guardians. 3 massive Catherax stood in a triangle around the anchor's base. They were twice the height of a man. Their bodies were thick and armored with jagged, bone-like plates. One had arms that ended in crushing hammers. Another had whip-like tendrils that cracked the air. The third had a wide, gaping mouth on its chest, lined with rows of spinning teeth. They were not moving. They were waiting. They knew the humans were coming. "We cannot fight all of that head-on," June said, his voice low and calm in the team's ears. "Even with our training, they will overwhelm us. We need a new plan." He looked at Choi Hana. "Specialist. The anchor. You have studied its design. Is there a weakness? A control point?" Hana had been staring at the machine, her eyes narrowed. Her mind, cool and detached, was comparing the structure in front of her to the alien schematics she had memorized. "Yes," she said after a moment. "There, at the base. See the ring of glowing crystals?" She pointed. A circle of pulsing green stones was set into the metal near the ground. They focus the energy. They are the lock holding the door open. Break the lock, the door should swing shut. "How do we break them?" Park Soo-min asked. She was studying the movements of the skittering demons, her body already coiled, ready to pick a path through them. "A powerful, concentrated energy discharge at the correct frequency," Hana said. She tapped the device on her wrist. "I can generate the frequency. But the discharge, it needs to be stronger than our rifles. It needs to be physical, kinetic, something big." All of them slowly turned to look at Kim Tae-Si-Che. Tae-Shik was watching the big demon with the chest mouth. He estimated the thickness of its armor plates. He calculated how many rounds from his cannon it would take to crack them. He felt the weight of the heavy pack on his back. Inside were his special tools, his explosives. He felt their eyes on him. He looked back at them, then at the crystal ring. A small, grim smile touched his lips. "I have an idea," he said, "but I will need to get very close. And I will need time. 60 seconds at least, while the big ones are busy." June understood immediately. Tae-Shik would need a distraction. A big, noisy, dangerous distraction to pull the Guardians away from the anchor. He looked at Soo-min and Hana, then back at the swarm. The plan formed in his mind, clear and cold. It was a bad plan. It was a dangerous plan. But it was the only one they had. "Okay," June said. "Here is what we do. Tae-Shik, you go to the right. Use the wreckage of that fuel hauler for cover. Get as close as you can to that crystal ring without being seen. Prepare your charge. Wait for the signal." Tae-Shik nodded. He unslung his cannon and placed it gently on the ground. He would need to be quiet and fast. He opened his pack and started pulling out blocks of dull gray putty and a small, complex detonator. "Hana," June continued, "you are with me. We go left. We make the distraction. We draw the big ones toward us. We make as much noise and trouble as we can." Hana nodded. She drew a pistol from her hip. It was not her main tool, but it would work. "Soo-min," June said, his voice softening just a little. "Your job is the hardest. The small ones. When we pull the Guardians away, the swarm will still be there, protecting the anchor. They will try to stop Tae-Shik. You must keep them off him. You must control the swarm." Soo-min looked at the river of black, chitinous bodies flowing around the anchor's base. Dozens of them. Maybe 100. Her two knives against all of them. She did not see impossibility. She saw angles of attack. She saw choke points. She saw where the flow was weakest. She gave a single, sharp nod. "I will hold the line," she said, her voice as quiet and sure as the slide of a blade from its sheath. They moved. Tae-Shik slipped away to the right, his big form moving with surprising silence, clutching his blocks of explosive putty. June and Hana went left, keeping low, moving toward a high platform that overlooked the plaza. Su Min stayed still, becoming a shadow, waiting for her moment. June and Hannah reached the platform. They had a clear view of the 3 giant demons below. June took a deep breath. He let the mission fill his mind. The goal was noise. The goal was anger. He flipped a switch on his rifle from single shot to full automatic. He looked at Hannah. "Ready?" "Ready," she said. He opened fire. The sudden, violent roar of his rifle shattered the constant drone of the anchor. Bright muzzle flashes lit up the platform. The bullets sparked and pinged off the bone armor of the demon with the hammer arms. The reaction was instant. All 3 guardians turned their featureless heads toward the sound. They felt the attack, but more importantly, they sensed the intent behind it. It was not the delicious, consuming fear they wanted. It was a sharp, bright challenge. An insult. It confused them. It made them angry. With a ground-shaking roar, the hammer-armed demon charged. The one with whip tendrils followed, its limbs lashing out, slicing through the metal supports of the platform. The one with the chest mouth began to climb, its teeth spinning with a horrible grinding sound. The distraction had worked. They were pulling away from the anchor dot down by the fuel hauler. Kim Tae-shik saw the giants move. He saw his opening. He sprinted from his cover, clutching the shaped charge he had built. His heart was pounding, but his mind was on his grandmother's song, on the math of the explosion, on the placement of the putty. He had 50 seconds left. As the guardians left, the skittering swarm around the anchor's base grew agitated. They sensed a threat approaching from a new direction. As one, they turned away from the noise and toward the lone. Large human running straight for their master. They flowed toward Tae-shik like a black tide, and from the shadows. Park Soo-min stepped into their path. She stood alone in front of the rushing swarm. She did not brace herself. She did not shout. She simply settled into a light, ready stance. Her knives caught the ugly green light. She was a small rock in the path of a dark river. The river would have to break around her. The first demon leaped at her face. She moved her head 2 inches to the left. Her right hand flicked out. The demon fell apart in mid-air. 2 more came at her legs. Her feet danced. Her blades dipped and rose. 2 more puffs of black smoke. She did not kill them out of rage. She removed them because they were in the way. Each movement was efficient. Each step was precise. She began to walk forward, not back, cutting a path directly into the heart of the swarm. She was not defending. She was attacking the attack itself. She was buying time, one precise, silent cut at a time. Tae-shik reached the anchor's base. He dropped to his knees, ignoring the terrifying sounds of the fight behind him. June's roaring gun, the shriek of the demons, the whip crack of tendrils. He pressed the putty against the first glowing crystal. 30 seconds. The platform was coming apart. The demon with the chest mouth was climbing the support beams, its grinding teeth chewing through the metal like it was paper. The one with the whip tendrils was below, lashing out, slicing chunks from the edge of the platform where Lee Jun and Choi Hana were pinned down. June fired another burst at the climber. The bullet sparked on its armored head, doing little more than making it angry. It was close now. He could smell the ozone and rot coming from its spinning mouth. He glanced at Hana. She was not shooting. She was staring at her wrist device, her fingers flying over the screen. Hana! Now would be a good time. He yelled, ducking as a whip tendril sliced the air where his head had been. The frequency. I found it. She shouted back, her voice tight but clear. But it is not an energy signal. It is a pattern. A psychic command that tells the door to stay open. Can you stop it? June asked, firing again to slow the climber. They were running out of room. I can't broadcast a psychic command. We don't work that way, Hannah said. Then her eyes went wide with an idea. But we broadcast something else. Our neural patterns. Our bio readings. The dampening protocol makes them. Clean, simple, solid. If I can sync our life signs to the anchor's emitter, it will be like shouting a very loud, very wrong note into its song. It might break the pattern. June understood. It was a crazy plan. It meant turning their own bodies into a weapon. Do it. What do you need? I need to link all four of us. A closed loop. And I need to get to the anchor's main control panel. It's on the other side of the base. She pointed to a small, glowing console barely visible on the far side of the spire. Between them and that console was the entire plaza. The swarm, and the third guardian, the one with the massive hammer arms, which was now turning away from the platform, realizing the real threat might be elsewhere. Go. June said, I will clear you a path. Hannah did not hesitate. She was a woman of logic. The logic now said to run. She leaped from the crumbling platform, hitting the ground hard and rolling. She came up running, her pistol in her hand, sprinting in a wide arc around the edge of the plaza toward the console. The hammer-armed demon saw her. It took a heavy step to cut her off. June saw it move. He had one magazine left. He stood up on the shaking platform, ignoring the climber demon right behind him. He aimed not at the demon's body, but at the ground directly in front of its huge stomping feet. He emptied the entire magazine. The explosive rounds tore into the plaza stones, throwing up a cloud of dust and shrapnel. It did not hurt the demon, but it blinded and confused it for a few precious seconds. Hannah darted past its range, her small form disappearing behind the anchor's massive base. The platform gave a final groaning shriek. The demon with the chest mouth had chewed through the last support. June fell with the structure, a rain of metal and debris crashing down around him. He landed hard, the breath knocked from his lungs. He looked up. The demon was on top of the wreckage, its tooth-filled maw descending toward him. All he had left was a sidearm. Park Soo-min was a storm of quiet motion. The swarm was everywhere, a living carpet of claws and teeth. She did not try to hold a line. A line was static, and static things got surrounded. She moved, constantly. She flowed through the swarm like water through rocks. She stepped, turned, bent, and spun. Her knives were extensions of her hands, and her hands knew exactly where to be. She did not think kill. She thought clear. This space, for 1 second, must be clear for her foot to land. That creature's lunge must be redirected so she could turn. She was a sculptor, and the black rushing forms were her clay, being parted and shaped around her. She was not fighting a war. She was solving a complex problem of physics and timing, but the problem was growing. For every 2 she dissolved, 3 more seemed to take their place, boiling out of the shimmering tear. They were starting to learn, to try to surround her. She could not keep this up forever. Her muscles burned. A claw grazed her armor, scoring a deep groove. She saw Kim Tae-shik out of the corner of her eye. He was on his knees at the crystal ring, his back to her, completely exposed. A group of 5 demons broke from the main swarm and sped toward him. They would be on him in seconds. Min made a decision. She stopped her flowing dance. She planted her feet. For the first time, she stood still in the middle of the black tide. The demons surged toward her, sensing a moment of weakness. She took a deep, calm breath. This was no longer about movement. This was about territory. The territory behind her belonged to Tae-shik. She would not let them pass. She met the first demon not with a dodge, but with a direct, powerful stab, punching her knife straight through its core. She kicked its dissolving body into the next two, slowing them. A claw scraped across her helmet, cracking the visor. She ignored it. Her world shrank to the space in front of her. Slash, parry, lunge. She became a wall of sharp, relentless certainty. Kim Tae-shik pressed the last block of putty onto the final crystal. His charge was set. The detonator in his hand was ready. He looked at the timer. 10 seconds. He needed to be at least 20 meters away. He turned to run and froze. Park Soo-min was a few paces away, standing her ground against a wall of demons. She was holding them back, but she was completely surrounded from the front and sides. There was no path for him to run through Dot. If he ducked and ran the other way, he might make it to safety. But running would leave her flank completely open. The swarm would engulf her in a second. Tae-shik did not run. He did not think about heroism. He thought about the job. His job was to blow the crystals. Her job was to protect him, so he could do that. She was doing her job. Now he had to do his, which included making sure the person who protected him could complete the next job. He raised his left arm, which held the detonator. With his right hand, he pulled the heavy pistol from his thigh holster. He did not aim at the demons closest to him. He aimed at the ones on Soo-min's far side, the ones trying to circle around her. He fired. The heavy caliber rounds smashed into them, drawing their attention. He fired again and again, walking forward, shouting over the comms. "Soo-min! On me! Now!" She heard him. She didn't look back. She took one last sweeping cut to clear a space in front of her, then backpedaled quickly until she felt Tae-shik's bulk behind her. They stood back to back, a small island in the sea of shadows. The demons closed in from all sides. Tae-shik looked at the timer in his hand. 3 seconds. He had a choice. Drop the charge and run, likely failing the mission. Or ensure it worked. He made his choice. "Fire in the hole," he yelled, and he pressed the button. The shaped charge on the crystal ring detonated. It was not a huge, fiery explosion. It was a focused, concussive thump of pure force. A wave of invisible energy pulsed outwards from the anchor's base. The crystals shattered with a sound like breaking glass. The green light from the anchor flickered wildly. The shimmering tear in the air wavered, like a disturbed reflection in a pond. The flow of new demons stopped abruptly. For a single, silent second, everything froze. Then, from the top of the anchor, a beam of solid green light lanced out. It did not shoot into the sky. It snapped downward, striking the main control console on the other side of the base, the console where Choi Hana was working. Linking their neural signals into the machine, the anchor had a final, automatic defense. And it had just found a target. The blast of green energy from the anchor missed Choi Hana by inches. It struck the console she had been working on, melting it into glowing slag. The feedback surge hit her device, overloading it with a shower of sparks. She was thrown back, slamming into the hard ground. On her back, she stared up at the swirling, sickly green tear in reality above the anchor. The crystal ring was broken, but the door was still open. It was wounded, unstable, but not closed. They had failed. The psychic drone of the machine had changed. The steady hum was now a ragged, pained screech. All around the plaza, the demons shuddered. Their forms flickered, becoming less solid. The 3 giant guardians stopped their attacks and turned as one toward the anchor, their featureless heads tilted in what looked like confusion. And Hunger. Lee Jun lay pinned under a heavy piece of the collapsed platform. The demon with the chest mouth loomed over him, its spinning teeth just a meter from his face. But it had stopped. It, too, was looking at the anchor. Jun saw his chance. He wrenched his body, the servos in his armor whining, and managed to pull himself free. He scrambled back, his sidearm raised, but the demon paid him no attention. It was staring at the faltering tear, as if seeing the feast slipping away. Hana's voice crackled over the coms, weak but urgent. The link is broken. The anchor is destabilizing, but it is not shutting down. It's like a broken pipe. It's leaking energy everywhere. The psychic field, it's going wild. June understood. They had heard it. Now it was bleeding, and the demons were drawn to the bleeding wound. But if the wound didn't close, that energy could do anything explode, grow, anything. What do we do, Hana? From her position on the ground, Hana's analytical mind fought through the pain. The console was gone. They could not broadcast a signal. But the anchor itself was now an open psychic wound, screaming a chaotic signal. We have to give it a new signal. She gasped, pushing herself up. A stable one. To overpower the chaos, we have to connect to it directly. How? It was Park Soo-min's voice, breathless. She and Kim Tae-shik were still back to back, surrounded by the flickering, confused swarm. The old way. Hana said, the idea forming fully. Before machines. A circle, a conduit. We stand at the points around it. We drop all dampeners. We open our minds, but only with one thing. The mission. Only the thought of the mission. The order to close. We pour that single thought into the tear. Our human certainty. It might be loud enough to drown out the noise. It was the craziest idea yet. To drop their mental shields. To willingly open themselves to the full force of the demonic psychic field. But to fill that connection not with fear, but with a single, unbreakable command, June made the decision. Do it, everyone. To the anchor. Form a circle. On my mark, deactivate neural dampeners. They moved. June ran from the wreckage. Soo-min and Tae-shik broke from their stand, fighting through the disoriented swarm toward the base of the spire. Hana stumbled to her feet, joining them. They took positions around the anchor, 4 points on a compass, looking up at the pulsing, wounded tear. Ready. June called out. 4 hands reached for the controls on their wrists. A soft chime sounded in each of their helmets as the dampening protocol disengaged. The effect was instant and violent. The full, ragged psychic scream of the dying anchor hit them like a physical wave. It was not just sound. It was feeling. It was the despair of the soldiers who had died here. It was the cold hunger of the K-Therax. It was the terror of a universe being unmade. It flooded into them, seeking to drown their minds. Lee Jun felt it crush down on him. He saw Gwanak Station fall again. He saw every soldier he had ever lost. He felt the weight of command, the fear of failure. It was so heavy. He sank to one knee. But through the storm, he clung to one thing. A simple sentence. Complete the mission. He said it in his mind, not as a hope, but as a fact. The mission will be completed. He began to push that thought, hard and sharp, back into the storm, aiming it at the tear. Kim Tae-shik roared as the psychic noise hit him. It was not a roar of anger, but of effort. The field tried to show him the crumbling soldiers again. It tried to make him feel the guilt of his actions. He gritted his teeth. He did not think of guilt. He thought of a job. A broken thing needed fixing. He was a mechanic. He focused on the image of the tear, not as a scary door, but as a broken pipe. His thought was simple, a craftsman's thought. Seal the leak. Park Soo-min went perfectly still. The psychic storm screamed of death, of pain, of being overwhelmed. It tried to make her feel small and weak. But Soo-min's mind did not work in feelings. It worked in actions. In the storm, she found her center. The mission was a kata, a formal exercise. Step 1. Move to the anchor. Step 2. Stand. Step 3. Close the door. She was on step 3. Her entire mind became that single silent step. Her will was a monomolecular blade, cutting through the chaotic noise with pure, undiluted intent. Choi Hannah cried out as the chaos filled her. It was data terrible, overwhelming, screaming data. It threatened to short-circuit her logical mind. So she used her logic as a weapon. The problem: an open dimensional rift. Solution: close it. Her mind, trained to find patterns, rejected the demonic chaos and instead imposed the cleanest, simplest pattern of all, a binary state: open, closed. She fed that clean, logical switch flip into the maelstrom. Go from open to closed. 4 minds. 4 different kinds of strength. Not magical, not emotional. One was duty. One was craft. One was discipline. One was logic. Alone, they would have been washed away. But together, standing in a circle, their thoughts began to resonate. A new signal emerged from them. It was not a scream of defiance. It was quieter and stronger. It was the undeniable hum of a machine that is working. It was the sound of a task being done. The ragged green tear in the air felt this new signal. This strange, solid, indigestible signal. It was not food. It was the opposite of food. It was a command that did not ask, but stated that the demon guardians felt it too. They turned from the anchor toward the humans, their forms trembling with a new kind of agitation. This was not prey. This was something that was poisoning their home. The hammer-armed demon raised its weapons and charged the circle. But it was too late. The fourfold signal of pure, unyielding human purpose hit the unstable tier. It was the final, correct note. The anchor spire flashed once, a pure, clean white light that burned away the green dot, and with a sound like a vast, endless sigh, the tier in reality simply stitched itself back together. It was there, and then it was not. The door was gone. The psychic scream cut off instantly. The silence that followed was absolute and deafening. The charging demon, the flickering swarm, the very substance of the K-Therax, all of it just stopped. Without the open door, without the energy from their home dimension feeding them, they had no anchor in this world. They faded, like drawings in sand washed away by a wave. In seconds, the plaza was empty. Only the dead, black spire of the anchor remained, silent and dark. The 4 humans slumped to the ground. Their ears rang in a silence. They were exhausted, their minds bruised from the ordeal. Lee Jun slowly got to his feet. He looked at Su Min, who was cleaning her blade with a slow, careful motion. He looked at Tae Shik, who was staring at the spot where the tear had been, a look of quiet satisfaction on his face. He looked at Hana, who was already tapping on her broken device, trying to get a signal. June opened a channel. Orbital command, this is Maywall Actual. The breach is closed. The anchor is neutralized. Mission is complete. Lieutenant Kang Bei's voice came back, full of stunned disbelief. We saw the energy spike, and then nothing. The demonic signatures are gone. All of them. What did you do? June looked at his team. They were just people. Tired, hurt people who had done a job. They had not fought with great rage or great hope. They had fought with the simple, unbearable weight of being human, of having a job to do and refusing. In every fiber of their being. To do anything else. We finished our work, Lee Jun said, and closed the channel.